So welcome, Jocelyn Center Variety Show fans. I'm Jack Newby, Executive Director at the Jocelyn Center here in Palm Desert. Welcome you to our Friday interview show. Before we talk with Jack Poifair about Alzheimer's and the services offered throughout the community and through the organization where he works, Vista, Cove. Just want to touch base and let you know what's happening here at the Jocelyn Center. You may have already heard that we're working at opening the center starting in the first week of June. That would be an event June 2nd. And so to attend that event, we're going to ask you to sign up. So if you could call in and sign up in half-hour intervals, because as we reopen, we're going to have to follow the county guidelines. Want to give everyone a chance to renew their memberships if you haven't done that in the past year, and also learn about the classes and activities we'll be offering as we slowly reopen. And that's the one thing to be aware of. We're going to be reopening slowly. We'll still be enforcing mask and physical distancing rules here on site, doing extra cleaning, keeping it as safe as possible. While we've been closed this month or this year, we put in UV air scrubbers in all of our air conditioning systems. So we are trying to make our building as safe as possible for you as you come back as members and start enjoying our classes and activities. So mark that date on your calendar or call today and reserve your space for June 2nd, and then we will be opening for classes the following week. Alzheimer's is one of those things that really concerns a lot of people. There are a lot of resources available, and we have one of our community experts here that we want to talk to a little bit about Alzheimer's and the services offered through Vista Cove, which is where he works. But we're going to talk about some of the general things about Alzheimer's, and then some of the specific things, services for caregivers and for individuals who are diagnosed with Alzheimer's. So right now I'd like to introduce Jack Poifair from Vista Cove. There he is. How are you?
Doing good, Jack. Good to see you again.
Good to see you. Thanks for joining us this morning. So just a little bit about you. I've known you for a number of years. How long have you been with Vista Cove and working with people with Alzheimer's here in the Coachella Valley?
I moved here a little over 20 years ago, and I've been at Vista Cove for, 16 or 17 years. So quite a while. And
with that, not only do you work at Vista Cove, you're also involved, as I understand, with the various Alzheimer's groups here in the Coachella Valley.
Yes, I helped get ACV started and volunteered at the Alzheimer's Association for many years.
So a lot of work, a lot of experience in the area. Tell us first what is Alzheimer's and how the impact on individuals.
Alzheimer's is a progressive and chronic disease. People often say, what's the difference between Alzheimer's and dementia? Alzheimer's is just a specific type of dementia. A lot of diseases can cause a similar set of symptoms. They all end up affecting how people are able to make decisions, plan, communicate with other people, and it eventually reaches the point where they need help caring for themselves.
And many times the people that are caring for them are their spouse or loved one that is with them all the time.
Usually, yes.
And what can be the impact, or what does that spouse or caregiver experience or go through as the disease progresses?
Often it starts with isolation. Friends drop away because they don't know how to deal with it. Frequently, particularly in the desert, a lot of people retire here and they're not from here. Their kids are elsewhere, so they're not able to physically help. And as it goes on, the caregiver ends up getting exhausted and not taking care of themselves. And unfortunately, more caregivers die before the person that they're taking care of does. And it's often because they're just too stressed and overwhelmed and, again, aren't able to care for themselves.
So an important part of this discussion is not only the care that can be provided to the person with Alzheimer's, but that the caregiver take care of themselves and make sure they keep their doctor appointments, take some time out for themselves, and learn how to manage working with and living with a person with Alzheimer's. What are some of the primary issues that caregivers face?
Probably one of the biggest ones is sleep deprivation. When you're having to take care of somebody 24/7 and their sleep patterns become disrupted, or they're up and down at night and at odd hours. Most of us don't handle sleep deprivation well, much less when you're 70 or 80 years old. I don't know how some people do it as long as they do.
Plus, they're just not taking care of themselves physically, getting out for exercise or social activities.
Absolutely.
So, and that isolation can lead to depression and other problems for the caregiver, and how they're able to take care of their loved one.
It does. It takes a lot of people to take care of somebody who needs to be taken care of.
So let's move on. We'll talk about Vista Cove and some of the services you provide, that not only help the caregiver and also help the Alzheimer's patient. And I noticed, respite is one of the things that I see that is provided at Vista Cove. And tell us a little bit about what respite is and who it benefits.
Respite is just short-term stay, overnight care. We don't have minimums or maximums. People can come here for a night, the weekend, a week. Often that's utilized in addition to people just needing a break and being able to get a couple good nights sleep to recharge. Somebody's having a procedure in a hospital. They need to rest and recuperate for a day or two. You can't do that if you're a primary caregiver of somebody that needs physical, emotional, and mental attention. So it's really helpful for people to actually keep their loved ones at home longer and delay placement if they're able to get a break and take care of themselves when they need it.
And for the individual with Alzheimer's, what is their experience like at a place like Vista Cove where they're in for respite care?
Typically, most of our respite clients have been in day program here or elsewhere before. So that makes it an easy transition. They get to socialize with people that are their peers and engage in activities. Right now, we have Ken Lewis doing karaoke. He plays at some country clubs around town. He knows all the music the residents know. Everybody loves him. So it's kind of like being able to go out without having to go anywhere when you're in respite. And now that, COVID has relaxed things a bit and we can have volunteers, that's really great again.
And interestingly, I've read that music is one of those things that really benefits the Alzheimer's patient or helps reconnect some of their past.
It does. Music is stored in a different part of the brain. And typically, long-term memories are preserved much longer. So the songs that people remember from their childhood, teenage years, 20s, 30s, those memories are still intact. So often we'll see residents that aren't able to vocalize or aren't able to have a meaningful conversation anymore that makes sense to us. When you put on music that they're familiar with, it starts with the toe tapping and then they start singing the lyrics. And it's really remarkable, and it's a great way to relate to people who can't relate in typical fashion.
And you had mentioned earlier just the Daybreak program that if a person wants to go out to lunch or they need a doctor's appointment or that sort of thing, that service is also offered at Vista Cove.
We are accepting day program clients for fully vaccinated people. And it is a great option. People can do it half day, which is 4 hours, or a whole day. And yeah, that really gives the caregiver a break to be able to get things done. A lot of people going to the store can be an overwhelming task if you're trying to keep track of somebody who wants to wander off in another direction. So it really is helpful for people. And again, it extends how long they can keep their folks at home.
And also it helps them if they just want to socialize or get out to a class or activity at a senior center or lunch with their friends.
Yeah, typically the first couple of visits might be a little difficult because it's strange and different, and that's not fun for most people. But typically after a few visits, people really enjoy coming here. It's a great place to be there. It's like going out to lunch. You know, you're eating with 6 or 8 other people at a table, and then doing activities and having an exercise class and having a good time.
And then for those that can no longer take care of their loved one at home, either because their own health issues or just because it becomes too difficult for them to handle, what are the options available to them?
We do have long-term residential care, so people live here full-time, and we take care of people all the way through the process. All we do is memory care. We're the only freestanding memory care facility in the valley, and again, we take care of everybody all the way through.
And so what does that include? I mean, I'm expecting, I think you had mentioned a half day there. Does that include meals? And I think you mentioned that. And so if a person's there full time, what's involved with that?
Pretty much everything you need to get through the day. Activities of daily living, dressing, grooming, showering, getting from one place to the other. Typically, as the disease progresses, people increasingly need more help with those sorts of things. Everyone here gets help with their medication administration, housekeeping, laundry, all the things that you do at home, mopping the floors, doing your laundry, cooking meals, shopping for food. We take care of all of that and provide assistance at whatever level people need.
I think it really, when I hear about, going back to the caregiver, caring for their spouse or loved one, it can not only be emotionally draining and difficult, but physically. So it really sounds like those programs, especially for people to get away and get some time off and do some of the things they need to do, or even socialization, because we know lack of socialization is so hard on seniors and older adults. I mean, those sound like some really great programs. And as I understand, there aren't that many like that here in the Valley.
There aren't that exclusively do memory care. There are other places that do respite. Currently, we're the only open day program in the Valley. I'm sure that'll change as things with COVID progress. But right now, we're it.
Well, I want to thank you for filling us in a little bit about Alzheimer's and what caregivers can expect and some resources that they might have. What other resources are there in the community where they could, at the very beginning, where they might be able to seek assistance?
Certainly the Alzheimer's Association and Alzheimer's Coachella Valley. We have 2 great resources in the Valley for people that need information and, support groups and programs for people to attend together. Couple of great organizations, and they're probably your best starting point if you're new to this and don't have any experience. They'll have all the information, educational classes, and help to get you through.
I know from feedback from our members and their participation in some of our classes and activities that Alzheimer's is and dementia, those other related problems are the one thing that they're most concerned about. So it's great to know that there's this resource here in the community. How would they get in touch with you if someone's watching and wanted to find out more?
They could certainly give us a call at 760-324-4604, or go to our website, which is vistacove-rm, like Rancho Mirage.com.
And I just one quick thing, I recall when I visited that site that, you know, one of the concerns that many people have for people with Alzheimer's is that they tend to may wander away. And that's one of the things a caregiver has to be really concerned about. If they're not paying attention, suddenly the person is gone. There are literally walking paths at your at Vista Cove.
Yeah, a lot of places consider wandering a behavior problem. We consider that a good activity to do. We have about 2.3 acres that has a locked perimeter fence, so people are able to go out and walk around and be safe doing that, which is really great for people that, a lot of people in the desert are into exercise. They moved here to be outside, and they don't do well, you know, locked in a house or having somebody stand in front of a door saying, no, you can't leave. That is very helpful for people who want to do that here.
Yeah, that's so true, that, you know, so many people do want to maintain their exercise, and that they have a safe place to do it is really a great resource. Well, I want to thank you for joining us this morning on the Variety Show on our Friday interview. Look forward to seeing you as we begin to open up and maybe do some of this in person and presentations here for our members. And again, reminding our members, we're reopening the first week of June, so you can renew your membership and find out what classes we're offering. Eventually we'll be having people like Jack here in person to give a presentation about Alzheimer's and the things that you can do to take care of yourself and your loved ones. So thanks, Jack, for joining us, and have a great weekend. And for everyone else, Jocelyn Variety Show, our Mindful Mondays, will be coming up at 11 o'clock next Monday. So we'll see you then. Thanks, and have a great day.